Again, a very warm welcome to you. These beautiful thoughts remind me of something Yoganandaji said on this topic of living in God's joy. He said, if you're not able to keep a smile on your face, you take the fingers and put them at the edges of your mouth and lift your lips up so that you can radiate a smile to all. And the essence of the yogic path, we know, is that God is ever conscious, ever existing, ever new joy. And as devotees, we're trying to touch that joy every day as we meditate, as we energize, as we chant, as we go about our seva, as we're in satsang. We're trying to touch and taste that inner joy and to then spread it out to all whom we meet. There's a passage that's very beautiful in the Bible, words of Jesus Christ, that I don't believe are really understood. The words are, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then all these things shall be added unto you. Now, we don't want to go hither and yon seeking God. What it means is to go inside. It really is saying, go inside first. Meditate first. Be in tune first. Lift your consciousness up first. Be inspired first. And then, as you go inside in stillness and in oneness with God, what comes? All these things shall be added unto you. Peace comes, joyfulness comes, answers come, insights come, clarity, concentration, inspiration. God comes into the heart of one who can go inside. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. And then we bring that out into our lives, and then we can have a prosperous life, a successful life. We can have healthy relationships, a healthy body, perhaps. But at first it comes from inside. And we go back into where the joy of God is residing in our own hearts. And I was thinking today about Diwali and Rama being exiled for those 14 years. And then he came back into his kingdom, and there were lights. We have beautiful lights on our house here. You may hear a few firecrackers going off outside because Diwali is tomorrow. But what is that really symbolizing? He came back into the light of God. He went back inside. And the same with, there are deeper meanings behind all these things that we have grown up with. The same with the prodigal son, which is spoken of in the Bible, that he squandered his family inheritance. Finally, he came back. Now, he came back into his inner kingdom. He came back into the light. He came back into the inner joy. He came back into the spine. He went out through the senses and trying to enjoy life, and he came back to the inner joy inside. The same spoken of the children of Israel. They were roaming for 40 years in the desert. And I love what Swamiji said. He said that where they were roaming wasn't a very large area, and how could they not find what they were looking for? 40 years is a long time to be looking around. Well, the inner meaning is really that they were in exile up to their soul. They were in delusion, and they came back into the joy of the soul inside. And this is what yoga is about. It's bringing us back into who and what we really are inside. And there's a beautiful saying that a sad saint is a sad saint indeed. Now what this is saying is that that saint hasn't found the inner joy of God, the bliss of God. And through all circumstances, as Yoganandaji is describing here in these beautiful passages, we'll have many ups and downs in life, but there's always God underneath as the bliss of the soul, and we can always find that. And Guruji said, even a little, if you find a little bubble of joy, nothing else is there. He said, take that bubble and blow on it, expand it, make it bigger. And so all the techniques that we practice on our path, as I've been on this path for some decades now, I realize that they all are taking us to the essence of our being, which is Sat Chidananda, which is bliss inside. And so as we do energization, it's opening the channels in the body, it's bringing in fresh prana, it's purifying the body, it's recharging, it's magnetizing the body. It's joy-inducing. As we energize every day, we build more and more and more on the joy that's within, and it's able to come out more as we're more relaxed and open. The same with our meditation. Master said, in fact, that Kriya produces a tangible feeling of joy in the spine, in the chakras. As you do Kriya Yoga, the pranayama practice, our highest technique of meditation, you begin to feel the joy of the soul. As we chant, as we just did a very simple chant, you can feel the vibrations, they're joy producing, they open the heart, and then we can bring the energy up to the spiritual eye. As we do seva, as we serve, there's a feeling that comes in that's very blissful because we have expanded ourselves. We're not thinking of ourselves, and we're in tune with the higher energy of God, of the gurus, is working through us, and they're filled with joy. And so all the practices that we have, if we stick with them, we find that little by little there's joy that comes from our soul, and we begin to be bathed in that vibration. I remember when I first went to Ananda village, I left my home, I just finished college, and I sought joy in other things. I sought in money, I had a good job, I sought it in nice house and relationships and car and all the things that people put on their altar these days. Not joy producing. There's always a dead end feeling to those, and luckily I learned that pretty fast in life. And then I heard about Paramahansa Yoganandaji, and I began to read his books, and I just felt so happy that here was someone who had answers. And then someone told me about a great master, a yoga master who lived, I lived in Los Angeles, so it wasn't that far away from me, but he lived up in the mountains and the foothills of Sierra Nevada foothills, that he actually trained people in Yoganandaji's teachings and all. And I went there, and I remember I packed my car of my few possessions, and I had a Volkswagen then, for those of you who know, it's sort of like a Nano, but a little bit bigger. So I packed my car, and I was going to Ananda, and I remember as I left, my whole family was in tears, and they just couldn't believe I was leaving home. And my mother was saying, well, you're wasting your life, and you have a college degree, you should help us. And I just said, I just can't stay. I know my life is something else. That was 36 years ago or more. And I remember my mother saying, well, where are you going? And I said, all I know is the place is called Ananda. And honestly, I didn't know much about it. And they said, well, what does Ananda mean? And I said, all I know is Ananda means joy. And I have to go there. And as I went, I saw people who were happy. I saw people who were energetic. As I began to do the yoga postures I was learning, I said, I love this. I was opening up as I learned the energization. I loved the exercise. It was not, from the beginning, but I learned to love them, let's put it that way. But I did feel a joyful energy coming, and I learned how to chant. And then as I began to meditate, I said, I gotta go deep into this. I knew that those were the keys. As Paramahansa Yoganandaji said, he brought tools, techniques, methods. He said, you have the keys in your hand. Just open a door. You open the door to the soul's qualities of bliss. I remember Swamiji saying once, he said, if you practice Kriya deeply enough, he said, it's just delicious. It's just so sweet, and you just don't want to do anything else. And so all the practices we have, they lead us inside ourselves to that secret place of joy, of bliss, which is there already, and always has been there. And the other thing we have to do is not only experience that in meditation, which even from the beginning, you have to feel a little bit of that. I mean, even from the beginning, you come out of a meditation, you don't go right into a conversation, you don't go right to get on the phone, or, I mean, this is a very still, wonderful feeling that you know is familiar. You remember it. You remember that that's your soul. Like Patanjali said, a smriti, a memory of who and what I really am. But then we have to take that into that feeling of centeredness, of attunement, of clarity, of concentration. But I'm speaking tonight more about joy. I remember Swamiji said to some of us, a couple of us acharyas here, he said near the end of his life, he was very blissful. And many of you who saw Swamiji, you saw him at the end of his life. He could barely walk out on the stage to give a talk. He had to lean on someone. He could barely sing anymore. But he was so blissful. And when you heard him speak, you just were filled with joy. His joy was contagious. He was giving the bliss of God. And he said to a couple of us, just a little while before his passing, he said, it's not enough to give a class. You have to give people joy. You have to give them bliss. And I say that to you in anything you're doing. If you're teaching a yoga class, don't just move your body and show people. Give them the inner smile of God. If you're going to work and you're getting on the metro or whatever, just always try to feel that my essence is joy and I live in that joy, and that's what I will share with other people. And so when this beautiful story happened with Dhyana, one of Master's early on disciples, that she came to him and she said, I just had this blissful meditation, and Master said, oh, that's wonderful. And then he said, now this is what I want you to do. I want you to go down to the department store and buy something for me. And she thought, no, I'm just having this blissful feeling inside. He says, yes, now you go, and I want you to buy these things. A big store like Lifestyle or something here in India. So she went and she purchased the things, and she came back, and I believe she passed the test. The test was, can you hang on to that joyful feeling? As Swami Sri Teswarji said to Master, that you should be able to feel God's joy in every circumstance in your life, and not just in meditation. So the yogi tries to not contain, but have that joyful feeling in everything that they do during the day, to take it in with working with your children, having your breakfast and going off to work and working on the computer, and everything that you do. You're coming from the inner nadis, as nadis of blissful joy that are there. And no matter what happens, you can always find that within. At the end of Dhyana Mata's life, there's so many great stories of the disciples of Master. Well, hers was a great story, and another one I'm thinking of is how Master and Rajasi, his foremost disciple, they would just be walking on the lawn, and Insani is holding hands, and they were just in a bliss state. They were in samadhi, and they were always in that state. And Dhyana Mata, at the end of her life, when she passed away, it was said that she said these words, joy, joy, it's too much joy. And she was ever in that, even though she was sick for 20 years of her life, mainly in bed. But she had that blissful feeling, just as I spoke about with Swamiji. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about lasting joy versus superficial. Now, what I'm speaking of is something that comes out of meditation. It's an experience of meditation. It's not a giggly kind of thing that something happened and you start laughing and you get out of control. This is something that is deep within you, that comes out, that you see it on the face, you see it in the eyes, you hear it in the voice, you see it in the aura, that becomes more and more light. You feel light within yourself. Maybe you can almost lift up off the ground. You just feel so light. And there were saints who did levitate. And they levitated from the blissful experience of God. It lifted them up. You can read many of the lives of the saints who did. But the joy of the soul leaves a deep impression. You can never forget it. It leaves a deep impression on your heart, on your consciousness, on your mind, on your features, on your whole being. And it's something that's lasting, it's something that's deep, it's something that it's impressive on who and what you really are. I recall I used to teach the Raja Yoga courses here, and before the class I would tell people, now I'm going to take your picture, because after 3 months of the course, it was 2.5, 3 months, I said, I want you to see how you look. Afterwards, you're going to have a different face. Like Guruji said, you won't be able to recognize yourself. You'll be so changed from the practices. And lo and behold, I take their picture, and they look very different afterwards. We see people who come on retreat at Ananda. I'm speaking more of Ananda Village now, just for a weekend. And the lines, the worry lines, and all the fear in the eyes, and all that would just vanish, because they had touched their soul. So it's something that you feel. It's a sign of spiritual progress to be able to feel divine joy. Now, in meditation, we should try to feel it. Master said, affirm. I mean, he was a bliss avatar, and his chants were, many of them, about joy. O thou King of the Infinite, I behold thee in Samadhi. Beautiful chant, just affirming that that's who and what I am. And Guruji said we should take parts of his poem, or the whole poem, Samadhi, and repeat it, really saying that that's who we really are, instead of the worries, the doubts, the fears. Or listen to, from Metaphysical Meditations, Master's poem, Samadhi. And the thoughts that he had, he said, be even-minded and cheerful, the things that I read. Master would walk up and down in front of the bars in Los Angeles, just pouring out blessings and the blissful feeling. So people would want to go away from those sense attachments that they had. And there's a beautiful story of one man who came to him, and he was a little bit tipsy. And he said, Master, he had long hair and probably robes on, and the man came up to him. He says, hey, Jesus Christ! And Master looked at him, and he gave him some of his bliss. And the man said, hey, what you been drinking? Master said, yeah, there's a lot of kick in it, that's all I'll say. And he left the man sobered, because he just shot that joy into him. And so he was giving that blissful feeling out to people, and he had that all the time. And there's a wonderful story of a man who came to Yoganandaji. I won't tell the whole story because I don't think I have enough time to tell it, but he wanted to learn Kriya. His name was Bob Raymer, and he came to Master, and he read autobiography, he had his own jet, he flew in and on his jet, and he came to Yoganandaji, and he said, now I want to learn this he called it Kriya Yoga. He said, I want to learn Kriya Yoga. And Master says, okay, come on in. And so Master was sitting there with him, and he had, pictures of his family. He was Master was showing this man and Bob Raymer. And he had some mithai, some sweets, and and so he showed the pictures. They had the sweets. He kept, pumping them into Bob Raymer's mouth, and he was opening him up. He was softening him up. And then the man kept saying, "Well, I really came here because I wanted to learn Kriya Yoga." So Master, he just kept avoiding it till he felt he was ready. And then after a while, the man kept asking. So Master said, "Okay, tomorrow at 10 o'clock." So he came. Now, we don't give Kriya in this way. It takes 9 months to a year. It's not the next day. So the man came. The next day, Master gave him Kriya, and he told him what to do. And when the man was staying at a hotel, he went to the hotel, and he said, I didn't have my normal 2 martinis that night because my guru told me, to practice this meditation. So he was sitting on his bed. He began to practice Kriya, and all of a sudden he said he hadn't done very many. I heard this story from him myself at Ananda Village, and he said the energy, blissful feeling just rose up his spine, and he said he began to cry for joy. He began to laugh for joy. He fell off the bed just crying and laughing. He said, I've been waiting for this my whole life. It's something that's within each one of us. something that he felt inside himself. And you all may know the story of the man, man who was an alcoholic, who had the Kriya beads and the whiskey, and Master said, just practice. And this is the thing, don't worry. There's so much people worry about. Just continue your practices, go deeper, open yourself more, be happy inside that you have practices to do. And so he would practice Kriya, and then he would drink, whiskey, and then he'd practice a few more, he'd drink, and this went on for not that long. Then after a certain point, you put the bottle down, he says, I don't need this anymore. I'm so happy with it myself. It's within myself, and for each one of us, it's within ourselves. And if we go with that, we will find that things begin to fall away. I was listening to a very beautiful story about Teresa of Avila from I heard Swamiji tell that I went to this church in Rome, Saint I can't remember the name of the church, but anyway, it's a beautiful statue by Bernini, where she's there and there's an angel as part of that statue that has a spear and is just putting into her heart. And she said to Saint Teresa, there was deep pain. I think that was from just losing everything and letting go of the ego. But she said the joy that came was just so immense. It was overwhelming. And that's the heart opening up. And something happened with her. She was, of course, a nun, and she was, this man kept coming to see her, and, he was falling in love with her, and she kind of was falling in love with him a little as well, but he just kept coming around, and she must have been talking to him from behind the grill, because she was in a convent, and, he got more and more friendly, and she kept seeing him. And then one day he came, and he was courting her, and alluring her. And then suddenly she fell into a vision, and she saw Jesus Christ behind him, looking at her. And she didn't know what to do. She would look at the man, and she would see this vision of Jesus. So what happened? She fell into ecstasy. She went into deep ecstasy, into bliss. And the man who was courting her, he didn't know what to do. What happened to her? So all he could do was walk off, because she was just enraptured from the vision of Christ. And this is what happens as we meditate more deeply. Then the things that need to fall away, they just begin to fall away, because we're so deep in that bliss. Nothing, stale cheese, Master said, it doesn't even compare to the bliss of God. It seems nice, and it's warm and friendly, and I like it, but it doesn't have any power over the soul. And so the deep joy is the things I've said. And superficial joy is something that's fleeting, it doesn't last. If you don't have it, then you're not happy anymore, or it gets stale. You think of a child that you take to the zoo, and in the morning they're happy, they're bouncing up and down, they can't wait to see all the animals. By the end of the day, there's, oh God, Mommy, my head hurts, my stomach hurts, I want to go home. Because it's not lasting. Or in your life, you have a party. At the beginning, everybody's happy, and by the end, it's like, you just got to go home. Because it's fleeting. It's superficial. It doesn't feed the soul. It takes away. It feeds the ego. It doesn't take away. I mean, it takes away from the depths of your soul. And then the last part I wanted to share with you is just how under all circumstances, if you really try, you can remain in that center of joy. I lived for, but spent many years watching Swami Kriyanandaji, and just how he handled situations, and as I was saying, really all through life he had different medical things that he was dealing with, but he just was always cheerful. He was always, smiling. He was always thinking of other people. He was consciously doing that, is what I want to make this point about. It wasn't, he was never thinking, oh, what about me? What about I'm in pain, or I'm sorrowful, he was consciously putting out energy to other people, which produced inner joy and a radiance. And there's one cute incident where Swamiji many times was in the hospital, and one time he was, I can't remember what the surgery was, but he was in a wheelchair, so someone was pushing him down the corridor in a wheelchair in the hospital. And then there was a man coming the other way. He was in a wheelchair too, so this man was kind of, he was really feeling badly, and he was slumped down. And Swamiji, I think Swamiji wasn't feeling that good, but when he passed by the man, he looked at him and he just said, like Master said, just shoot the bullets of smiles. He looks over at the man, he says, "Good morning!" And the man just went, whoa, he just woke up, and good morning. And, he just never would allow his body or whatever it was to say how he was going to feel. And there was a story of when our temple burned down at Ananda in the seclusion retreat. And Swamiji was somewhere near there. I think he must have been camping out, because the way I heard the story, he was lying down on in a sleeping bag somewhere near the temple later on, and people thought, oh, he's feeling badly, oh, he's moaning and whatever, and they went near him, and all they could hear was Swamiji saying, "Joy, joy, joy." And he said later, I had given that temple to Divine Mother. It was hers. If she wanted to burn it down, she'd burn it down. And he said to her, I gave this to you. And he said, if I've done something wrong, please let me know. And he said that Divine Mother filled his heart with so much joy that he said, take everything if I'm going to feel this much joy. So he inwardly, no matter what the circumstances, he felt Divine Mother's blessing there. The next day he was at a store, and he was singing. And the person at the store said, didn't your temple just burn down? And he said, yes. And she said, well, I cried for a whole year when my house burned down. And he said, well, I lost a temple, because she said, how could you be singing? He said, I lost a temple, I didn't lose my voice. And so this is the thing, you still affirm. He was very affirmative, and one time he was going skiing with some of the Ananda people up in the snow above Ananda, and his tires on the car were kind of bald. So actually, they were trying to stop to put the chains on, and the car started skiing because there wasn't any tread on the tires. And so his car ran into a bus, like the size of a Volvo bus here. Greyhound is what we call it in America, but it's a different kind of bus. So his car rammed into the bus, and he said there was no dent on the bus, but his car, front end at least, was completely totaled. So, they got out of the car and they figured out, get the tow truck and whatever. And then he said, well, let's still go skiing. And everybody said, really? And he said, let's get on the bus. So they get on the bus, and there was a lady on the bus, and she said, isn't that your car over there? And he said, yes. And she said, aren't you sad that you wrecked your car? And he said, well, I would be happy in 2 weeks. Why am I can't be happy now? What a wonderful attitude. Think about it. You're going to be happy in a week or a day or 2 days from now. Try to be happy now. Affirm it. Make it a part of your sadhana. To always try to keep a smile and always try to be inwardly cheerful, inwardly happy under all circumstances. Finally, there was a saint who said to Swami Kriyanandaji, I think he was 102 years old, and he was very austere. And you see people austere who there's no joy there. If they've been, I've seen people who've been fasting too long, and they just there's this painful look on their face. You just want to just eat something. I mean, it's not that important. Or someone who's in a contorted yoga posture. I mean, you see different ads, and who would follow those people? Where's the joy level? Just do a simple pose and be happy. And So this saint said to Swamiji said, oh, what a beautiful sunset. Don't enjoy the sunset. I said, well, why? It's beautiful. He said, well, what about the moonrise? Don't enjoy the moonrise. It's why? It's God. Master had that chant, oh God beautiful, at thy feet I bow. In the forest thou art green, in the ocean thou art green. You know? He said, I bow to every part of God in nature. But this man was saying, don't enjoy anything. And what about, the trees and the flowers? Don't enjoy it. And Swamiji said, well, Master enjoyed things in the joy of God. This is our way. It's in the joy of God. And as you think of God, as you come from within yourself, you can enjoy colors, you can enjoy beauty, you can enjoy good company, you can enjoy good food. Master enjoyed good food, he enjoyed a good laugh. There's one video I saw of him recently where we showed it at the center, where he was swimming, well, he wasn't quite swimming, but he was in the water, and there's two devotees near him, and he's just, at a certain point, he just splashed the water, and he was splashing them. Just out of sheer fun. He wasn't just like an oracle that I pronounce this, you must do this, you must sit this way, you must not stand, you must not eat, you must not. That's just not our way. There has to be balance, and in that balance there can be just a wonderful feeling. And I, had the good fortune of being with Swamiji many times where he just enjoyed a boat ride, or, and he would enjoy Indian food, for example. And I remember seeing him with just tears rolling down his face when it was so hot, so with so many spices. And I said, Swamiji, that must be so hot. He said, yes, but it's delicious, it's good. He just would enjoy. He enjoyed shopping, he enjoyed good friends and traveling and taking a day off. And when the community got so stiff, people were just like, too tense. He would enjoy reading us P.G. Wodehouse, and the great humorist, English humorist, and just having people to be able to be more light. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy God. Enjoy the joy of God. And then, as you do that, you find that God was always there in that joy. Master said, I'll end with this, when he went into Samadhi for the first time with Swami Sri Teswarji's blessing and grace, a little bit after that, he said to Swami Sri Teswarji, imagine, he said, well, Guruji, I don't think I found God yet. And Swami Sri Teswarji said, well, you have found God. And he says, well, no, I don't think so, sir. And he said, well, what are you looking for? And he says, oh, no, I know what you're looking for. You think that is phenomena, that you're going to have some phenomena experiences happen to you. And he said, when you can feel the joy of God in meditation, and feel His guidance in your life, even in the details, then you will know that you have found God. And Master said, well, sir, I know I have found God. And for each one of us, we found Him to a degree at least. You must have felt some joy in meditation, and you must have felt His guidance in your life. We can affirm, we can increase that, blow on that bubble, as Master said. But as we affirm that, just like in meditation, we don't go and say, when will I find joy? You say, I have it. I have it already, I have Him. God bless you. Joy to you.